Yes. You look cute, pretty, aren't you, hey? And big green eyes, eh? Well, I didn't think I was going to do it quite this early, but might as well do a talk on feral cats versus stray cats. Here in Australia, you don't need to see that butthole, we have sort of both feral cats and stray cats. Black Kitty here was born as a feral kitten. Weren't you, my putty? And very bright green eyes. The vet noted that when you when she was trying to deal with grass seeds in someone's throat once upon a time, wasn't she? Anyway, the difference with strays and ferals is we don't exactly have native cats here, no. Between Morocco and Iran, cats are native animals all through the Middle East, you know, and through obviously parts of North Africa, which includes, you know, Egypt and Morocco and places like that. I wouldn't be terribly surprised if they're in Libya, but I know for a fact they're in Morocco. And but not here in Australia. Well, not ones like this. Maybe the quoll, the western quoll, the Tasmanian devil, they're all technically cats. They are native to the country. Isn't that right, buddy? Yes, big green eyes. Although the Tasmanian devil has a few real health issues going on and went from being in extreme numbers when I was a kid now to being almost endangered due to this bizarre bloomin' virus thing that's getting them. But yeah, back to the point. Stray cats, of course, you know, live in the city and they can scrounge around through dumpsters and stuff like that, much as raccoons and skunks will. You know, there's a bit of stuff there for them to exist. You know, and I've seen, well, there's quite a lot of stray cats around work, but and even where I was at the paint warehouse, they had a shed there where there was all kittens in there, and they were the dirtiest looking little things. But near work is, well, it's a few streets across and everything, there's an abattoir. And, of course, any scrappy fat bits or whatever, you know, they probably throw out in a dumpster, and I'm sure the cats help themselves to all that. But, you know, you got enough of these different food joints around, you know, that they're probably nicking blooming bits of chicken and stuff out of the dumpster and whatnot as well. They do seem fairly... there's another area near my work where they probably, you know, almost live in the wild, so to speak. It wouldn't be live in the wild, but there's, well, let's say there's a walking track and, you know, big patches of grass and stuff to do what they want. And often when they go running out of the yard at our work, that's where they'll be going, because we're sort of backed up against all that stuff. But feral cats, however, are a little bit more extreme. And these are cats that have been dumped a long time ago. Now, your average cat would probably not last in the bush because there's no easy food available, because there's no real dumpsters to pick through or anything like that. And there's no one, maybe no little old ladies secretly feed them on the sly, or they're not stealing biscuits out of any dog's stupid half-deaf old dog's food bowl from somebody's house or anything like that. So, or snooping into other houses through cat flaps and eating other people's cat food, which seems to even happen to me, even as far out as I am, surrounded by farmland. Yeah, that's where Gingerpuss come into being and stuff. I haven't seen Gingerpuss for frickin' ages, 9 months or more. Yeah. And there's another black one that sometimes hang around that's completely black that I think Black Kitty was having a fight with once or twice there. But feral cats are different from stray cats because the average cat that gets dumped out in the bush will not survive. It'll just starve to death and that'll be the end of it. But there's a certain kind of cat that continues on. A certain kind of cat that actually does start to fend for itself, that catches mice, but mainly catches birds, and they're known as ferals. And this is in large part, well, little Putty here brings in, well, mice and even rabbits and stuff like that, because, you know, they have the ability to fend for themselves, and her mother would not have survived if she couldn't fend for herself. And henceforth, you know, we've got these same genes, this same hunting instinct. That's a brilliantly tuned hunting instinct in little Black Kitty here. Long and short of it, there are cats that still live out in the bush, and I mean right in the forest. And they tend to be very strange. They have a tendency to grow exceedingly large. Like, I mean, it's just like some... You think it's a miracle of genetics. I think the genes in cats may be adapted to... You know, they may have very, very strong adaptations and be able to change into stuff that you wouldn't believe possible, purely due to needing to adapt, and they can adapt, you know, in only a generation or so, or 2 generations or something like that. There's ones I've seen as a kid in Western Australia. We had a sheepdog, and it was a Border Collie cross Kelpie, and it was basically the size of a Kelpie but with the colouring of a Border Collie, and you know, in terms of Kelpies, it probably would have been on the larger side of Kelpies, but we shot a feral cat out of a tree. Now, it, you know, took a .22 bullet, and it kept hanging on. I mean, it took a fucking bullet from 25 yards away while up a tree and kept hanging on. The second bullet brought it down, and when it hit the ground, it was like thump. And we looked at the thing, and it was only 3 inches short of the size of the fucking sheepdog. You know, these things are huge. They also get what you refer to in America as a winter coat, whereas a lot of these other cats won't get a winter coat. But the ferals that are living right out in the forest, they will get a winter coat. And a long time ago, I showed one that had been hit and was by the side of the road, you know, been hit by a car, and that had a winter coat. But that's quite a few years ago, early days of me being on YouTube. They look funny, they look strange. A lot of them will get mange. Black Kitty's mum had a lot of hair falling out in her back. I'd go around there with the food to, you know, pour it into the food bowl, and she'd be growling at me, you know. And then as soon as I walk off, bang, straight into the food. But she had all the kittens underneath this house, and Black Kitty was one of those kittens. I remember seeing little Black Kitty here. Holy smoke, she wouldn't have been any more than probably 6 weeks old. It couldn't have been any more than 8 weeks old. Was with a mouse in her mouth. She was bloody tiny. She's frickin' tiny. The mouse was like a quarter the size of the cat, you know. But that's probably something my mother caught, and then let her pick it up and, you know, walk around with it. But you was walking around with a friggin' mouse, and honestly, like, Black Kitty would have been only about, oh shit, 6 inches long, and she's walking around with this little mouse in her mouth. She's got brilliant reflexes, and I was here one time and I don't know what happened. Something scared her. And she's sitting on the corner of the bed over there. And honestly, she jumped straight upwards. Bloody 4 foot in the air. Just directly upwards, 4 foot in the air. Couldn't believe it. Just because she got a shock. But a lot of ferals, they tend to be very large, and a lot of them that you'll see will have a lot of hair missing on occasion, and that's sort of, some sort of mange or extremely bad fleas or something along those lines. And yeah, there's some I've seen as a kid also that they're just barely any hair on them and stuff like that, and yeah, but they always seem to be huge. And Black Kitty here isn't really huge, but you got to remember that, from the early days of her life, she's had someone feeding the cat food, so her diet's been a bit less crazy, and not so, we're not completely 100% wild, not having to fend for herself, not out in the piss and rain and the blowing wind, so she's sort of, she's turned out not like some giant thing that's had to adapt to harsh conditions. But I used to wonder if it was genetics or what it is, but I think cats in the right position have the ability to adapt extremely and become, a lot fatter, a lot larger, if need be, if the food source requires that. Yeah, ferals just go generation after generation after generation out here. And a lot of it's to do with the fact that it's not really freezing cold. The fact that, we don't get snow all over the country and stuff like that. It's almost like they've got a thing with rainforests. Insects never die off in the rainforest. Now here it gets cold enough to kill off a good deal of the insects and bugs in winter. With my father says by the second frost you lose about 80% of the bugs here. But, a cat is a warm-blooded animal, and because it's not, ice and snow all over the place at winter, it's not too cold that it actually kills them off. So they all remain alive, and, they're just generation after generation, rolling on. There's cats out in the forest, and that's the feral cats. But there's also dogs, some of who have merged in with wild dogs, and they're known as, have merged in with native dogs, like the dingo. And they never merge with foxes for some reason. I think it's the nature of foxes, but some people, have let dogs out who have bred in with dingoes, which is a native dog that was here before white man. And in fact, the Aborigines used to eat them sometimes. And and basically, they're known as wild dogs, and they are frickin' dangerous. And they're basically feral dogs, and they're up around where my sister lives. And yeah, different areas will have different colours, but there'll be a dominant male in the area, and then it'll turn out that most of them sort of end up looking the same colour as them. In their area they're white, and in other areas they're brown or black or whatever. And it just seems that the dominant male ends up being the, whatever colour he is, that sort of ends up becoming the regional colour for feral dogs. But yeah, I hope that's spreads a bit of light on feral cats versus stray cats. And I tell you what, if you want a cat that's going to get rid of mice and going to take care of rats, not that I like bringing rats inside, and because she always ends up hucking them up or some bloody thing, and rabbits and stuff like that. There's nothing quite like the kitten from a feral cat to take care. of things like that. Because while your normal little cat, you know, some people's normal cats will take out rabbits. There's a guy at work and his cat sometimes gets rabbits, but most people's cats only very occasionally get rabbits. And I don't know if it's that I've got more rabbits or I've got a flaming more crazy cat. But, you know, old cat here, you know, she will bloom and get rabbits. And you'll see they'll be, you know, they'll all be a certain size. And I've had to get one, and 2 days later another one, 2 days later another. You know, just sort of like, she gets 3 or 4 a week, you know. Quite surprising little cat sort of thing, the amount she can get. You know, I've had in one night 4 mice brought in. Like, it's beyond belief how many she can catch, you know, versus other people's cats. And it could just be that out here in the country I've got more of these things to catch. Yeah, I think there's a bit more of the hunting instinct in her because of her, where she's come from. But anyway, I think that's about that. I don't think there's a great deal more I'd have to say. But, yeah.